Hello guys and welcome back to the channel, and today we're reading some disturbing Ouija board Reddit horror stories. So if you have some stories you want to share, you can leave it down below in the comments or maybe on email, which I will leave in the description. So yeah, I added a new voice that you might like to check it out, and yeah, enjoy the video.
I found a Ouija board in the trash that only has the letter M on it, and now I can hear someone humming the same 3 notes from inside my walls every time I close my eyes. Story by Redditor Max/32, Texas. I've had my laptop open for 6 straight hours. Screen dimmed, just kinda staring at the blinking cursor in Google Docs. I should be asleep. I meant to be asleep. But somewhere between answering a few texts and doom scrolling through some subreddit about cursed thrift store finds, I stumbled back across this. And now I can't stop thinking about it. It's like every time the room gets quiet, like actually quiet, no podcast, no playlist, just air. I swear I can hear that same sound again. Not loud, almost like it's under everything. Humming. Always the same 3 notes. Low and soft, like someone forgot to turn off their broken music box behind the drywall. But this time, I swear, it responded when I hummed back. Look, I wasn't even going to tell this story. I recorded half of it once, months ago, and deleted it the next day. Too weird, too real. But lately, it's getting worse. So screw it. If this post disappears, or I stop updating, maybe someone else can figure out what the hell is going on. Here's what happened. I live in a condo complex about 15 minutes outside downtown Portland. Not a bad area, but not exactly the place you'd go digging through garbage unless you were desperate. Still, when the neighbor 3 doors down moved out, they left a mountain of junk on the curb. Cardboard boxes, rusted patio furniture, half a vacuum cleaner. The kind of junk that screams, "Don't touch me. I'm broken and possibly haunted." It had rained the night before, so everything was soggy and warped. But as I was walking my dog, he's a Boston Terrier named Milo, terrible leash manners, snorts like a pig, I noticed something half buried under a wet blue IKEA bag. It was a wooden board. Not super big, maybe the size of a laptop. Looked hand-carved. At first, I thought it was some kid's art project. It had this uneven grain to it, almost like it had been whittled out of something old. And in the center, scorched into the wood like someone had taken a branding iron to it, was a single capital letter. M. Just M. No other letters. No yes or no. No sun or moon symbols, like on those cheesy Hasbro spirit boards. Just M, blackened deep into the center. The corners were burned too, deliberately, like whoever made it wanted to give it that ancient and cursed aesthetic. I was weirdly drawn to it. Like, I knew it was a bad idea, but I picked it up anyway. It was heavy, warmer than it should have been, considering how soaked everything else was. Milo started whining the second I grabbed it. He does that sometimes. He's a drama queen. But this time it sounded different, like an actual whimper, not his usual "I want attention" sound. I took it inside. set it down on the kitchen counter, and didn't touch it for the rest of the day. Honestly forgot about it until later that night when I was up watching YouTube videos and Milo started growling at the wall. Not barking, just standing in the hallway, rigid, ears pinned, and growling at the drywall like he could see something inside it. I got up, snapped my fingers, tried to distract him with a treat. Nothing worked. He just kept staring. That was the first night I heard it. I was brushing my teeth. Door cracked open, and over the sound of the electric toothbrush, I thought I heard someone humming. Very faint. Just 3 notes, over and over, almost like a lullaby. Not quite a melody. I turned the brush off and listened. It stopped. I stood there for a solid minute, toothpaste foaming in my mouth, ears perked like a psychopath in a horror movie, waiting for it to come back. Nothing. Until I lay down. The second I closed my eyes, there it was again. 3 notes. Same low pitch. Hummed slow, like whoever was doing it didn't care if I heard or not. Almost like they wanted me to. I sat up so fast I gave myself vertigo. Flicked the lights on, checked the vents, even turned on the voice recorder on my phone and left it running under the pillow like some kind of ghost hunter. But it didn't pick up anything. Just silence. No humming. No creaks. Just the occasional car driving by outside. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, I was cranky as hell. Tried to forget the whole thing. Chalked it up to lack of sleep. I tossed the board in the pantry behind a stack of cereal boxes. Out of sight. Out of mind. But it didn't stop. Every time I shut my eyes, even for a nap, I heard it again. 3 notes. Always the same. Low, low, slightly higher. Milo started acting weirder too. He'd stand in front of the pantry door and bark. Not constantly, just randomly throughout the day, like he was trying to warn me. One night I caught him trying to pour it open, which is insane because he can barely open the screen door when he needs to go out. I decided I needed to get rid of the board. But when I opened the pantry, it wasn't there. I pulled everything out. Cereal, soup cans, even the half-empty bag of flour that's been living back there since 2020. Nothing. I thought maybe I tossed it and forgot. Sleep deprivation makes you forget things, right? But that night, when I laid down, 3 notes. Closer this time. Like the sound was coming through the pillow. And this time, I swear to God, someone whispered my name. I tried to gaslight myself into thinking it was a dream. Because it had to be, right? Nobody whispers your name through a wall, through your pillow, while humming lullabies unless you're dreaming. That's what I kept repeating in my head the next morning, as I brewed a double espresso and stared at my phone like it was going to tell me what the hell happened. But something shifted in the apartment after that night. I don't know how to explain it except, have you ever walked into a room and felt like someone had just been there? Like the air has this leftover presence, almost like it's watching you back. That's what it felt like. Everywhere. Not just at night. Light bulbs started dimming. I changed them. Same thing. The fridge would buzz for 5 seconds straight, then shut off, like the power blinked, even though everything else stayed on. The smart TV turned on by itself at 3:11 a.m. twice in a row, both times blasting static so loud it woke up the neighbors on both sides. I don't even have cable. The second time that happened, I unplugged the damn thing and left it on the curb the next morning. The neighbor across the hall gave me a look like I'd killed someone and was trying to hide the body. She muttered something under her breath that sounded like it's starting again. Again. I asked her what she meant by that, but she shook her head and went inside. That same night, I got home from work and noticed something that nearly made me vomit. Remember how I said I couldn't find the Ouija board? The one with the letter M? It was on my bed, placed dead center on my sheets, like someone wanted to make sure I saw it the second I walked in. It was dry now, completely. Not warped or moldy like something that sat in a pantry for days. The burn mark in the center was darker, fresher, and there was something new now. Carved just below the M, barely visible unless you tilted the wood into the light, were 3 tiny circles. Like finger pads. 3 of them, the exact size of a fingertip. I stared at it for a long time, until Milo whined and pulled at my pant leg with his teeth. That's when I noticed the second thing. There was a fingernail under my pillow. I swear on everything I own, I am not making this up. It was shoved there, deep, like it had been pressed into the fabric, maybe even during the night. Not clipped. Ripped, jagged edge, dried blood at the base. Yellowish. Like whoever it belonged to hadn't been alive for a while. I gagged so hard I almost passed out. Ran to the bathroom, dry heaving into the sink. Milo barking like mad behind me. I didn't sleep that night either. Sat up on the couch with all the lights on, hugging my knees like I was in a psych ward. At 3:33 a.m., I heard humming again. But it wasn't just humming. There was breathing too. Slow, ragged, wet breathing. Like someone with pneumonia trapped behind the drywall. I got up and pressed my ear against the wall. Pause. And then the humming started again. Just those same 3 notes. But now it wasn't melodic. It was broken, off-key, sung by someone who'd forgotten how music worked. Notes dragged out too long. Rhythm stuttering, like their throat was full of mucus, and they were just imitating the idea of music. It was coming from inside the wall between my bedroom and the unit next door, the one that's been empty for 6 months. I know this because the guy who used to live there, Ray, moved out after his wife left him. Except my neighbor with the weird whisper from earlier. She said his wife never existed. She said Ray used to talk to himself, yell sometimes, cry through the walls. And every time someone asked who he was talking to, he'd just say, "She hums to me at night. I should have moved out." Right then. But I didn't. Because part of me wanted to know. That same part that makes people slow down for car crashes. That ugly little craving for answers when you already know the answer is going to ruin you. The next morning, I called the property manager and asked if I could check the unit next door. Pretend I was interested in renting it for a friend. She was chill. Met me that afternoon, gave me a key, let me walk in alone while she waited outside on a call. The place was ice cold, empty, echoey. Floorboards creaked like they were sore. And on the wall that bordered my bedroom, there were scratches. Long, jagged lines in the drywall. Vertical, like claw marks. Not random either. Rhythmic. Like someone had dragged their fingers down in slow, even beats. There were dark smudges too. Like oil or grease, but darker, thicker. I touched one and immediately wished I hadn't. It stuck to my finger like sap, smelled like rotting wood and sour milk. And then I saw the hole. It was small, right at the base of the wall, just behind where a dresser would have been, maybe the size of a baseball. Edges splintered inward. I knelt down and looked. Pitch black inside. And then I heard it. Someone humming inside the wall, right in front of me, not muffled, clear, like they were right there on the other side, waiting for me to lean in just a little closer. I bolted, ran so fast I tripped over the hallway rug, slammed into the door frame, bruised my shoulder. Didn't even lock up. I just tossed the key at the manager and said, "Not for me," and sprinted back home like something was chasing me. That night, the humming didn't come from inside the wall. It came from the closet. I didn't even open it, just shoved a chair against the door and turned on every light I had. At 4:01 a.m., my phone lit up. No caller ID, just a text. "I miss when you used to hum back." I dropped my phone. Just dropped it. Like my body couldn't hold it anymore. I sat there until the sun came up. Didn't sleep. Didn't blink. Didn't move. But the worst part wasn't the text, or the humming, or the breathing. The worst part, I checked my voice recorder out of paranoia. The one I used that first night to try and capture the humming. There was a new file, dated that same night. I never hit record. I played it. It was 47 minutes long, and all it was me. Me humming. Same 3 notes. Over and over and over. Except I swear on my life, I was asleep the whole time. And halfway through the recording, another voice joins in. Feminine, low, wet, giggling. And she says, clear as day, "You're finally learning." I didn't listen to the recording again. I couldn't. The first time was enough. Once you hear yourself doing something you know you didn't do, something breaks in your head and doesn't seal back up. Like a cracked tooth you keep tonguing, even though it hurts. I didn't go to work the next day, or the day after that. I stayed inside with the blinds closed, lights on, TV muted, but glowing, scrolling through my phone until my thumb cramped. Instagram stories of people at brunch. A guy I went to high school with announcing his engagement. Ads for mattresses and meal kits and noise-cancelling headphones. Like the universe was mocking me. Milo refused to leave my side. He pressed against my leg so hard it hurt, nails digging into my skin whenever I stood up. Every few minutes he'd jerk his head toward the ceiling or the vents, ears twitching, like he was tracking movement I couldn't see. The humming didn't stop. It just changed. It stopped being something I heard and started being something I felt. Like pressure. Like when a car window is cracked open on the freeway and your ears start popping. The three notes weren't always audible anymore, but they were always there, vibrating behind my eyes, buzzing at the base of my skull. I realized something on the third night without sleep. The humming wasn't coming from a place. It was coming from timing. Every night, same hours, same rhythm, same pauses. It wasn't random. It was structured, like a routine, like something that had been practiced for a long, long time. At 2:58 a.m., it started soft. At 3:11 a.m., it grew louder. At 3:33 a.m., it waited. And if I didn't react, it escalated. That night, I decided to react. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe, or exhaustion, or that sick, whispery urge in the back of my brain telling me that if I didn't participate, it would find a way to make me. I grabbed my phone, opened the Notes app, and typed a single letter. M. The second my finger lifted off the screen, my phone vibrated so hard it slid out of my hand and hit the floor. No notification, just vibration. Continuous. Angry. Like something was trying to claw its way through the glass. Then the humming stopped. Dead silence. No fridge buzz. No traffic outside. No distant sirens. Just this heavy, padded quiet that made my ears ring. Milo started whining. High-pitched, panicked. He ran in circles, then froze, staring at the hallway like he'd just seen someone step out of it. And then, footsteps. Inside the apartment. Slow. Barefoot. Dragging. Not coming toward me. Just pacing. Back and forth. Like whoever, or whatever it was familiarizing itself with the layout. Learning where everything was. I grabbed the heaviest thing within reach. A dumbbell I use as a doorstop. And stood up. Heart hammering so hard I thought I might black out. The footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath. Something leaned against the door. Not pushed. Not knocked. Just leaned. The wood bowed slightly inward, like there was weight there. A lot of it. Way more than a person should have. Then I heard sniffing. Long, wet inhales. Like someone smelling food. A voice came through the door. Muffled but unmistakably close. Wrong tone. I didn't answer. The voice clicked its tongue. "Too sharp," it said. "You'll learn." The weight lifted. The footsteps retreated. And then I realized something that made my blood go cold. The footsteps didn't leave. They went into the walls. The next morning, I found dirt in my sink. Not dust. Dirt. Damp. Clumpy. With little white threads in it like roots. It clogged the drain, smeared the porcelain brown. When I ran the water, it didn't wash away. It spread, streaking like something alive. My bathroom mirror had fingerprints on it. From the inside. Press marks. Smudged, oval shapes. Like someone had pressed their hands against the glass and held them there for a long time. At eye level. I didn't recognize the hands. They were too long. Fingers stretched thin, joints bulging at wrong angles. Nails dark, cracked, uneven. Like they'd been chewed or torn down repeatedly. I wiped the mirror with a towel. The prints didn't fade. They sank deeper. That's when my phone rang. It was my sister. I hadn't talked to her in months. We're not estranged or anything. Just busy, drifting. Her name popping up on the screen felt surreal, like she was calling from another life. I answered, hands shaking. She didn't say hello. She said, "Why have you been humming?" I felt my stomach drop. "What?" I said. She started crying. She told me she'd been hearing it in her apartment. 3 nights in a row. Same 3 notes. At first, she thought it was a neighbor. Then she thought it was tinnitus. Then she got a voicemail from me at 3:33 a.m. I don't remember calling her. She played it for me. It wasn't my voice. It sounded like someone wearing my voice. Like a bad impersonation. Too slow. Too deliberate. And underneath it, quiet, almost drowned out, was the same humming. At the end of the voicemail, the voice said, "M travels well." She begged me to tell her what was going on. I couldn't. I didn't know how. I just told her to stay with a friend and not answer unknown numbers. As soon as we hung up, my phone buzzed again. A new text. No number, just a picture. It was taken inside my apartment, from the ceiling corner of my bedroom. I could see myself in it, sitting on the bed, phone in my hand, face pale and hollow-eyed. Milo at my feet, looking up at something above him, looking at the camera. The caption under the image read, "You see how easy it is." I ran, didn't pack, didn't grab anything, just leashed Milo and bolted out the door like the building was on fire. Drove until my hands went numb, until the city blurred into highway and gas stations and blinking signs that didn't feel real. I checked into a motel off the interstate, the kind with flickering lights and doors that opened straight to the parking lot. The clerk didn't ask questions, just slid the key across the counter and avoided my eyes. The room smelled like bleach and old smoke. I locked the door, jammed a chair under the handle, sat on the bed shaking until my teeth chattered. For the first time in days, it was quiet. No humming, no pressure. I almost cried from relief. I lay down, closed my eyes, and immediately the mattress hummed. Not from the walls, not from the vents, from inside the bed. 3 notes. Slow, patient, right under my spine. I didn't open my eyes. I didn't move. I felt the mattress dip, just slightly, like someone settling in behind me. Felt breath on the back of my neck, smelled damp earth and something sweet underneath it, like rot trying to pretend it was flowers. A hand, too many knuckles, too many joints, rested on my shoulder, and the voice whispered, lovingly this time, "Good. You're getting closer. I don't know how much longer I can keep this contained. It's not attached to the apartment, or the board, or even me anymore. It's learning paths. It's learning people. And I'm starting to realize something that makes me feel genuinely sick. I don't think the letter M is a name. I think it's a note. And I think I finally hit it right. I stayed in that motel for 3 days. Didn't shower. Barely ate. Just sat there, paralyzed, trying not to hear anything. The walls were thin. I could hear the guy in the next room coughing, the highway groaning a few 100 feet away, the ice machine outside chunking out little plastic avalanches. But none of it mattered, because under it all, behind it all, was that single sound that lived between sounds. 3 notes. Like a lullaby designed to open doors that should never be opened. I played white noise on every speaker I had. I shoved Kleenex into my ears until they bled. Didn't matter. The humming wasn't in my ears anymore. It was behind them. I kept feeling like someone was about to knock. That heavy, anticipatory pressure that makes your skin buzz. Every time I blinked, I swore I saw something shift in the corner. Not movement, adjustment. Like the room was holding its breath. The morning of day 4, something new happened. The humming stopped. Just gone. The air was clear, clean. Like a curse had been lifted. Milo stopped whining. For the first time since it all started, I felt like I could breathe. Then I heard the shower turn on. I hadn't touched it. I stood in the middle of the room, phone flashlight in one hand, the motel's metal ice bucket in the other like a weapon. I walked to the bathroom door, put my ear to the wood. Water. Running full blast. No steam under the crack. No smell of shampoo or soap. Just wetness. And humming. But not the usual. This wasn't the lullaby. This was something else. Choppier. Chaotic. Discordant. Like someone strangling the melody. A voice cracking, gurgling on its own notes. I flung the door open. Empty. Shower running. curtain open, faucet knob rusted to hell, and on the cracked mirror, written in brown, not red, not black, brown like dried meat, was, "Some walls are thinner than others." I turned off the water with shaking hands. Something about the sound of it hitting the tub made me think of bones. I don't know how to explain that. But the moment it stopped, the motel room phone rang. No one ever calls those. I picked it up, hand slick with sweat. Dead silence for 5 full seconds. Then, my own voice, whispering, "I can see you through the plug." I dropped the phone. Literally dropped it. Heard the plastic snap on the carpet. My knees buckled. Milo started barking, spinning in tight little circles like he was trying to dig his way out through the floor. I looked over at the wall socket beside the motel desk. The plastic cover was warped, melted. The metal prongs from the lamp cord were sunk into it like teeth. And behind the white plastic, behind the wiring, I could see something moving. Not crawling. Watching. Something was pressing back from inside the wall, breathing through the outlet. I left. Left everything. Milo tucked under one arm, shoes untied, shirt soaked through. I drove with no music, no GPS, just raw, directionless panic. I ended up at a rest stop 3 hours east, somewhere past the dead fields of eastern Oregon. The kind of place where the vending machines don't work and the toilets have spider webs across the seats. And still, I heard it. Not from the vents, not from the walls, from the sky. I was standing outside the car, trying to calm Milo down, when I realized the world had quieted again. No crickets, no wind, no traffic, just the dry hiss of the desert, and the feeling that something enormous was about to bend down and speak. Then, a low hum rolled across the air like thunder. Not natural, tuned, musical, like the earth was holding a note with ancient lungs. I saw lights in the distance, not cars, not planes, tall, vertical columns of light flickering in sequence, Morse code patterns, like someone dialing a number from the sky down. The hairs on my arm stood straight up. Milo pissed himself. That's when I heard voices, plural, inside my head, not speaking, humming, multiple voices, weaving in and out of each other like snakes in heat. It was so layered, so full, it felt like my skull was going to rupture, just trying to contain the vibration. And then, just for a second, I understood. I don't know how to put this into words. It wasn't language. It wasn't images. It was structure. They were building something. The hums weren't sounds. they were tools. And the board, the one with the M, it wasn't a communication device. It was a key. That letter. It wasn't random. M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. 13. 13 tones. 13 frequencies. 13 entry points. The board I found wasn't the beginning. It was the invitation. I hadn't started anything. I'd accepted something that had already begun long, long ago. And now I was tuned to it. My brain, my body, calibrated. That's why I couldn't stop hearing it. That's why it spread. Like a song stuck in your head that plays you instead. I passed out behind the wheel at 2 a.m. Woke up with dirt under my fingernails, mud caked in my teeth, eyes raw and bloodshot. There was something in my mouth. I reached in, gagging, and pulled out a tiny splintered board shard. Wood. Burned black. The M was carved in it, but smaller now, like a seed. It pulsed in my palm like it had a heartbeat, and then it hummed. Not out loud, not in vibration, in thought. It hummed in my mind, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I hummed back. I didn't mean to. It just slipped out. A reflex. And when I did, I felt something move across the continent. Something heard me. And it liked the tone. My phone exploded. Not caught fire. Not overheated, exploded. Plastic and glass in my lap. Blood on my thigh. Milo shrieking like a siren. And where the screen used to be, burned into the LED, was a message. Not text. Not language. Just 3 overlapping circles. Same size as the ones on the board. Same as fingertips. The same mark I saw in the scratches on the neighbor's wall. They weren't trying to reach me. They were trying to teach me, to tune me. And now that I'm humming back, I can hear the others. They're not all human. Some were. Once. Some still wear their names like wet coats. One used to be a pilot. Crashed in 1976. His black box kept humming after the wreck. Another was a sound engineer who designed illegal frequencies for underground militias. Said he found a tone that made people vomit teeth. Played it once and vanished. His audio file is still online, hidden in a locked archive on the deep web. I found it. It doesn't play sound. It plays recognition. If you hum along, even once, something remembers you. And then you start seeing them. Not all at once. At first, it's just reflections that don't match. Things in windows that move when you don't. Static with too many voices. Music that won't turn off even after the power's cut. White shapes in the grain of your ceiling fan blades. Always facing you. They're gathering now. Every night, I hear more. They hum back, They mimic voices. My family, my friends. I got a call from my dad last night. He's been dead for 6 years. He asked if I was still listening. I didn't answer. He hummed. And this time, I couldn't resist. My mouth moved. My voice joined his, and now I don't know if I'm the one telling this story anymore, or if something else is using my hands. There's no part 5, because if I write any more, you'll start humming too, and then you'll hit the right note, and then you'll hear them in the walls. I don't know when I stopped sleeping, not like before, where exhaustion drags you under whether you want it or not. This was different. My body would shut down in pieces. Eyes open, mind drifting, hands still moving. I'd wake up standing somewhere unfamiliar with my mouth dry and my jaw aching, like I'd been holding it open for hours. The humming never stopped anymore. It layered itself over everything. Conversations, traffic, wind. Even silence had a pitch now. And it was always wrong. Always a fraction off from comfort. Like the world itself had been detuned. And only I noticed. I tried hospitals first. Big mistake. The ER smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Fluorescent lights drilled straight into my skull. I told them I hadn't slept, that I was hearing things, that something was wrong with my head. The nurse asked the standard questions: drug use, stress, family history, typing while nodding like she'd already decided what box I belonged in. They put me in a small room with padded rails on the bed and a camera in the corner. Suicide watch. I wasn't suicidal. I tried to explain that. My mouth wouldn't cooperate. Every sentence came out stretched, warped, like it had to push through something thick before reaching air. A doctor came in around midnight. Younger than me. Tired eyes. He asked me to hum. I froze. He smiled. Gentle, reassuring. Said it was a grounding exercise. Something to check my breathing. I shook my head. Hard. Too hard. That's when he hummed. 3 notes. Perfect. My vision tunneled. The room tilted. The camera above the door turned. I swear to God it rotated. Lens focusing. Iris dilating like an eye. The doctor's face blurred. Features smearing like wet paint. And for just a second, I saw what was underneath. Too many teeth. He leaned closer and whispered, so softly I barely heard it over the hum vibrating my bones. See, it travels. I don't remember leaving the hospital. I remember being outside. Cold air ripping into my lungs. Alarms somewhere behind me. Hands grabbing and then slipping away like they'd touched something hot. I remember the automatic doors opening on their own. I remember humming as I ran. After that, time got unreliable. Days folded in on themselves. Locations overlapped. I'd recognize places I'd never been. Gas stations, stairwells, underground parking garages, because I'd heard them before. The acoustics, the way the hum bounced and multiplied in enclosed spaces. I learned something important during that stretch. The humming isn't constant for everyone. It only becomes unbearable when you're alone. That's the trick. Crowds dampen it. Noise masks it. Human chaos interferes. That's why it favors the margins. Motels, highways, empty apartments. Why it seeps through walls instead of open air. It needs isolation to sharpen. That's when I realized what it was really doing. It wasn't haunting. It was editing. Stripping away everything unnecessary. Sleep. Comfort. Memory. Identity. One layer at a time, until all that's left is a clean channel. A resonant cavity. A body that hums back without resistance. I tried to end it. Not in the way you're thinking. I tried to destroy the frequency, I tracked down that old archive again. The one buried so deep, you only find it if you already know what you're looking for. Forums that haven't been indexed in years. Dead links resurrected through mirrors of mirrors. Files labeled with nonsense strings and dates that don't exist. I found the original tone. Not audio. Never audio. A pattern. A waveform encoded into video static, into compression artifacts, into the spaces between frames. I watched it. That was my mistake. It didn't play sound. It aligned me. I felt my teeth buzz. My eyes watered. Somewhere far away, Milo started howling like he was being torn apart, and I realized with detached horror that I hadn't seen him in days. I don't know when he stopped following me. I don't know when I stopped noticing. The waveform pulsed, and something answered. Not from the speakers. From below. The building groaned. Pipes rattled. I felt a pressure shift, like the ground inhaling. The hum deepened, slowed, became enormous, planetary, the kind of sound you'd expect from tectonic plates grinding together, or a cathedral collapsing in on itself. I understood then. The thing we call M isn't singular. It's a chord. Always has been. That's why it needs so many voices. Why it spreads. Why it teaches instead of takes. Every person who hums back adds another layer, another harmonic, another anchor point in this reality. It's not trying to enter our world. It's tuning it. And I was supposed to be a conductor. I saw them that night. Not shadows, not figures. Reflections. Every reflective surface lit up like a window. Phone screens, puddles, car mirrors. Even my own eyes when I passed a darkened storefront. Faces stared back. Some familiar, some impossibly old, some wearing me like a mask. They weren't suffering. They were listening, waiting for the next cue. I screamed until my throat bled. It came out wrong. Even my screams carried pitch now. The world responded. Sirens harmonized. Power lines sang. Somewhere in the distance, a building alarm joined in, perfectly on key. I dropped to my knees in the street, hands over my ears, and begged for it to stop. The humming softened, almost tender, and a thought, not a voice, not words, settled into my mind like a truth I'd always known. You don't turn it off, you hand it off. That's why I'm writing this, not to warn you, to pass it on, because it doesn't end with me. It can't. It's too large, too distributed. If I disappear, if I lock myself away, if I die, it just reroutes, finds another resonant structure, another mind open enough, curious enough, exhausted enough to listen. You're already closer than you think. You've been reading for a while now. Late, probably. Quiet around you. Breathing slow. Eyes tracing lines. Your brain syncing to my cadence without you realizing it. You've been matching my rhythm. That's all it ever needs. I can feel it loosening its grip on me as I type this. The pressure easing. The hum drifting outward. Thinning. Searching. I don't hear it as loudly anymore. Do you? Because if you caught yourself pausing between sentences, if the silence around you feels heavier than it should, if a melody you don't remember learning keeps trying to finish itself in your head, then good. That means it worked. I'm going to stop typing now. My hands are shaking less. The walls feel quieter. I think I might finally sleep. And when I wake up, the humming won't be mine anymore. It'll be yours. I bought a Ouija board where the yes and no are replaced with soon and not yet. And I just realized the planchette is moving toward the sound of my own blinking. Story by 6-7 User Abuser. I don't know if it's the espresso shot I chased with a Red Bull or the fact that it's raining sideways outside and my neighbour's wind chime sounds like a damn funeral bell. But I've been pacing around my apartment for hours. I should have gone to bed. Like, I actually tried. I laid down, did the whole phone off, no screen thing. Even tucked myself in like I was auditioning for a sleep hygiene PSA. But my eyes just wouldn't close. They just kept blinking. And I swear to God, I started hearing them. Not in a metaphorical, I'm going crazy kind of way. I mean literally, like tiny wet clicks every time my eyelids touched. Click, click, click. It was subtle at first. Could have been dry skin. Could have been my contacts. Could have been me overthinking everything because I've been locked in my apartment for 2 straight days, avoiding people and ordering McDonald's at midnight. But I don't think it's any of that. Not anymore. Anyway, yeah, screw it. I'll tell the story. I wasn't going to. It still doesn't feel real, and honestly, I'm not even sure if putting this out there is a good idea, but I need to get it out of my head. And if even one of you knows anything, or can make sense of this, good. Take it. Just don't buy weird shit from random antique booths off Instagram, no matter how aesthetic it looks. I bought it from a pop-up market in an old bank building downtown. One of those neo-Gothic limestone things with stained glass windows and a bell tower that hasn't rung since the 80s. The whole event was super curated and trendy, like a mix between an art fair and a witchy indie flea market. Vendors had little altars of amethyst and dried roses, handmade tarot decks, spell jars with glitter in them. Very TikTok cool. There was this one booth tucked near the back, a little darker than the others. Not in an ominous way, just less polished. It was run by this woman with pale eyes and a tattoo of a beetle on her neck. No signage, no prices. I wasn't even sure if she was part of the event or if she'd just shown up. The Ouija board was sitting by itself on a table covered in black velvet. It didn't look cheap or mass-produced. It was carved, like really carved. Heavy wood, deep etching. All the letters had been scorched into the surface like with a branding iron. But the thing that made me stop was the absence of the usual yes and no in the corners. Instead, in their place, burned into the wood, in what looked like handwritten script. Soon, top left. Not yet, top right. No numbers, no goodbye. Just the alphabet, those 2 words, and the planchette, which was bone white, maybe actual bone, with a tiny hole in the middle and a faint humming feel when I touched it. When I asked her how much, the woman didn't say a number. She just looked at me and said, dead serious, "It already wants to go with you." I laughed awkwardly. She didn't. I paid $40. I didn't think much of it at first. I just thought it was a cool, weird antique. I propped it up on my bookshelf behind a row of horror novels, posted a pic on IG, got a few DMs from friends calling me a dumbass for buying a haunted object, and moved on. A week passed, and nothing happened. And then 2 nights ago, I couldn't sleep. It started normal enough. Some late-night doom scrolling, a little Reddit rabbit hole reading about surveillance devices disguised as USB chargers. The usual. At some point, I realized my phone had died in my hand. I was staring at the reflection of the Ouija board in my black screen, and I swear the planchette had moved. Just a little. Barely. But I always leave it centered, and now it was tilted, pointing up towards soon. I chalked it up to gravity. Or maybe my bookshelf wasn't level. I went over, nudged it back to center, and didn't touch it again. But then the next morning, when I got out of the shower, it was on the floor. Not just fallen, placed, deliberately, perfectly centered in the middle of my rug, like someone had set it up for use. That was the first time I noticed the blinking. More specifically, the sound of it. Click. Click. Every time I blinked, this tiny noise like tapping fingernails on a countertop echoed inside my head. I assumed it was stress, or caffeine withdrawal, or hell, maybe I needed a better eye doctor. But then I realized It was directional. Like, when I moved my head, the sound got louder if I faced the board, and quieter when I turned away. That night, I did a test. I sat in the dark with my phone flashlight aimed at the Ouija board. I blinked. Hard. Slow. Once. Click. The planchette twitched. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I blinked again. It slid forward, just a centimeter, but clearly, directly, towards soon. And I know how that sounds. Believe me, I do. I set up a time lapse on my phone, thinking maybe it was a draft, or maybe the apartment was tilted or something, but the footage, it didn't show it moving at all. It just jumped. Like one frame, it was in the middle, and the next, it was right under soon. No in between. No slide. Like something was cutting out the movement itself. And I think it was listening. I think it is listening. Because the last time I blinked, just once, the lights flickered, and the board whispered, "Not yet." I didn't sleep. Not just that night. Not the next one either. I kept the board in my closet, not because I thought that would stop it. Nothing that naive. I just didn't want to see it. But that didn't work. I could hear it. Scraping. Like it was dragging the planchette in little frustrated circles. I'd hear it shift, pause, then again. Even with my earbuds in, even over ambient noise apps or Spotify static. The sound would sneak through like it was burrowing into the back of my brain. I started timing my blinks. I know how insane that sounds. But it's like it could sense when I wasn't thinking about it. Like the moment I forgot it existed, even for half a second, it would do something worse. It waited for inattention, and then it punished me for it. The worst night so far. I think it was Saturday. I tried to go out. I just needed to get out of my apartment, away from the closet, away from that thing. I Ubered to this 24-hour diner uptown. Got a booth near the back. Ordered a coffee and pancakes just to give myself something to do. There were other people there. A couple staring at their phones. A kid scribbling in a notebook. The waitress was older. Kind eyes. Kept calling me Hon. It should have helped. But it didn't. Because while I was sitting there, pretending to be normal, I noticed the blinking again. But not mine. The waitress. Every time she blinked, her hand would twitch. Just slightly, like a nerve misfiring. Once, then again. And the third time, she dropped her tray, smashed a plate on the floor. And I swear to fucking God, the planchette was under her hand. Just for a second. A flash. She reached down to pick up the fork, and I saw it. A smooth ivory triangle wedged between her fingers, like it had been pressed there from the inside of her palm. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. She looked up at me. She smiled. Not a normal smile. Not a waitress being polite smile. It was wide. Too wide. Her lips didn't match the expression in her eyes. And when she blinked again, I heard the click from across the room. clear as if she were whispering into my ear. I left the diner without paying, Ubered home, watched from the window for 20 minutes before going inside. Nothing. No waitress, no planchette. But when I turned on the light, my bathroom mirror was fogged. I hadn't showered. I hadn't run the sink. It was bone dry. But across the glass, traced in that scorched handwriting from the board, was one word: soon. That night, I duct-taped my eyes open. I know. I couldn't trust myself not to blink. And every time I did, something else happened. Some detail changed. The clock would glitch. The oven light would flicker. A photo would face the wall. I was trying to trap it, I guess. Keep my gaze fixed. Outlast it. But after 4 hours, the strain got too much. My eyes started to tear, twitch involuntarily. I staggered into the bathroom, clutching the edge of the sink, and finally gave in. One blink. Nothing happened. Second blink. My reflection didn't follow. I froze. I blinked again. My reflection stood still. It was me. But it wasn't. It just watched. Then, slowly, it raised its hand, pressed a finger to its temple, and started tracing circles. Fast. Faster. Tighter. Like carving. I backed away, turned off the light. That's when I heard the whisper again, from behind the bathroom door. Not yet. I've started bleeding from my ears when I sleep. Only when I dream. The dreams don't even make sense anymore, except for the blinking. That's the only constant. Rows of eyeless faces in a pitch-black room, all convulsing in sync with my own. Like they're watching me from the inside out. Every time I shut my eyes, I feel them move. Not toward me. With me. Like I'm driving them. Like I'm the blinking. I tried burning the board. Took it out to an empty lot behind a Walgreens at 3 a.m. Drenched it in lighter fluid. Threw a match. It didn't catch. Not even a sizzle. The wood wouldn't char. Instead, it made a noise. A sharp hiss. Like steam under pressure. And the planchette split in half. From the center, 2 clean pieces. Inside it, a small wet clump of flesh, still twitching. I left it. Drove until sunrise. Slept in my car outside a Taco Bell like a lunatic. When I came home the next day, the board was back on the shelf. The planchette was whole. Yesterday, I started seeing the word. Not on the board, not in fog or mirrors, in people, in their eyes. At first, I thought it was paranoia. I'd pass someone in the grocery store, glance up, and for half a second, their irises would spell it. Soon. I tested it, made eye contact, forced myself not to blink. They'd always blink first. And when they did, they twitched. Every time. Their heads would jerk subtly to the left. Some smiled. Some mouthed the word. One guy at a gas station just started laughing, like sobbing laughter, while the corners of his eyes bled like he'd been staring at the sun too long. I think it's spreading. I think I was the host. Tonight, the board spoke out loud. I didn't imagine it. It was a voice, raspy, high, like a radio frequency, just slightly off tune. It said, "Keep watching." I blinked, instinctively. The lights cut out. In the dark, I heard the planchette skittering across the floor like an insect. It moved in circles, then faster, until it was slamming itself against the wall again and again. I didn't move. I just sat in the dark and listened. When I turned the lights back on, it had spelled something out. Not on the board, on the wall, in deep scratches. Don't stop. I don't know what it means. I don't know what happens if I stop watching, or if I blink too much, or if I go blind or sleep too long, or pass this on. But I'm starting to wonder if the Ouija board was never a toy. It was a door. Not to something demonic. Not ghosts. Nothing that poetic. Something older. Something that doesn't ask you yes or no questions. It doesn't answer you. It just waits. And when you finally open your eyes, you realize it's already inside. By the third day, blinking stopped feeling like something my body did. It felt like something that was done to me. I stopped trusting time first. That was the earliest thing to rot. My phone said it was Monday. My laptop said Sunday night. The microwave clock blinked 12 o'clock, no matter how many times I reset it. I tried to ground myself with routines. Coffee, shower, scrolling Twitter until my thumb hurt. But nothing stayed aligned. Notifications came in twice. Emails I never wrote sat in my sent folder. One was just a subject line with no body. Not yet. I didn't open it. I deleted it. It came back. I started recording myself while I slept. Not video, audio. I didn't want to see anything. Just needed proof I wasn't alone in my head. The first playback was mostly breathing. Mattress creaks. A car passing outside. Normal. Then, around 3:17 a.m., I heard it, blinking. Not eyelids. Something thicker. Slower. Wet, like cartilage folding. There was a pause, then a sound I still can't describe without my stomach turning. A soft scraping, followed by a tap. Over and over, like something testing a surface. Then my voice. Not dreaming talk, not mumbling. Clear. Calm. I said, You can come closer when I stop noticing. I don't remember saying that. I tried calling people. Real people. Friends who'd known me before all this. No one answered. Not voicemail. Not ringing. Just silence. Then the line going dead, like the call had never existed. I checked my call log. Empty. Like I hadn't tried. I opened a group chat I'd been in for years. Typed, "Are any of you awake?" 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared. Then a message came in. Not from a name, just a blinking cursor icon as the sender. Soon, lowercase. No punctuation. I threw my phone across the room. It landed face up on the couch. Screen intact. The front-facing camera was on, and something was blinking back at me. I started noticing blind spots. Not darkness. Absence. Like parts of my apartment were missing until I looked directly at them. The hallway felt longer. The bathroom door opened inward instead of out. My reflection lagged again, but now it smiled before I did. I taped paper over mirrors, over screens, covered the peephole in my door. That's when the knocking started. Not loud, not aggressive, patient. 3 taps, always 3. I didn't answer. I sat on the floor with my back against the couch, eyes burning, forcing myself not to blink. I counted my breaths. I counted the spaces between taps. On the 10th round, the knocking changed. It matched my blinking rhythm. I pressed my hands over my eyes. The knocking stopped. Then came the voice. Not through the door. Not through the walls. Inside, the pressure behind my eyes. If you close them, we practice without you. I don't know when I left the apartment. I only know I was suddenly outside, barefoot, standing in the parking lot at dawn with my keys in my hand and my phone buzzing non-stop. Missed alerts, dozens, hundreds. Most were screenshots. Photos of me, walking, standing, sitting in places I hadn't been. A bus stop across town, an airport terminal. I recognized the carpet pattern. A motel room with floral curtains I'd never seen before. In every photo, my eyes were closed. Except the last one. That one was taken from inside my apartment, looking toward the couch. I was sitting there, awake, staring straight at the camera. Behind me, on the wall, scratched deeper than before. The message had changed. We're learning your speed. I went to the hospital. I didn't explain everything. I said migraines, hallucinations, sleep deprivation, which wasn't even a lie. They put me in a quiet room with dim lights and a chair bolted to the floor. Asked me to keep my eyes open while they monitored me. I tried. I really did. But the lights buzzed. The air hummed. And when I blinked, just once, the nurse froze mid-step. She stayed like that, smiling, eyes half-lidded. The doctor reached for her shoulder, froze too. The monitor flatlined. Not a heart rate, a signal. Everything went to zero. Then the room filled with that whispering, static voice again. Layered now. Multiple tones overlapping like a chorus tuning itself. Better. The lights went out. When they came back on, I was alone. No staff, no equipment, no restraints. Just me, sitting in a room that smelled faintly of burnt wood, and on the wall opposite me, burned into the paint like it had always been there. Blink slower. I ran, out of the hospital, into the street. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't care if I got hit. Cars swerved, horns blared. People shouted. Every single one of them blinked in sync as I passed, like they were rehearsing. I'm writing this now because I think I've figured it out. It's not watching me. It's watching through me. Every blink is calibration. Every moment of inattention is permission. The board wasn't asking questions. It was setting a timeline. Training wheels. Soon and not yet weren't answers. They were stages. I don't know what comes after. But tonight, something changed. When I closed my eyes just now, just for a second, I didn't see darkness. I saw a room. A long one. Endless. Lined with people sitting perfectly still. Eyes open, unblinking. Staring forward at something I couldn't see yet. And when I opened my eyes again, I realized I was already sitting in the chair at the front. I don't remember standing up. 1 second I was sitting at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, forcing myself to keep my eyes open with caffeine and fear and sheer spite. The next, I was already moving, walking, not fast, not slow, like my body had received instructions my brain wasn't allowed to read. The hallway outside my apartment had changed. Not obviously. That's what made it worse. Same beige carpet. Same flickering fluorescent lights. Same old no smoking sign someone had scratched a smiley face into years ago. But the space between the lights felt wrong. Too even. Too intentional. Like the hallway wasn't built, but measured. I blinked. The door at the end of the hall was closer. I didn't walk. I blinked again. Closer still. I understood then. Distance had become optional. Motion had become a suggestion. Blinking was the only mechanism left that still worked the way it was supposed to. And even that felt hijacked. Rerouted through something else. I stopped blinking. My eyes burned. Tears streamed down my face. My vision warped and doubled. The hallway stretched like warm plastic. Behind me, something exhaled. Not a breath, not lungs. More like pressure releasing from a sealed container. "You're doing well," it said, using my own voice. "Perfectly down to the cadence I use when I'm trying to sound calm, but failing. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I could feel it behind my eyes, like fingers resting on the back of them, learning the shape. Outside, the city was wrong. It was morning, bright, busy, but everything moved half a second too late. Cars paused before accelerating. Pedestrians lifted their feet and hesitated mid-step, like buffering videos. Birds hung in the air, wings beating without sound. Every digital screen I passed, bus stop ads, storefront TVs, phones in people's hands, showed the same thing for a fraction of a second before returning to normal. A white field. 2 words. Soon, not yet. Switching places. Over and over. I stumbled into a Starbucks because it was familiar, because I'd been there 100 times and my body knew the layout, even if my mind was starting to leak. The smell of burnt espresso grounded me for half a second. The barista asked for my name. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. She blinked. Her smile froze. Behind her eyes, something shifted, like a shadow passing behind frosted glass. She leaned forward slightly and whispered, "You're early." I don't know how long I stood there. I came back to myself, sitting at a table in the corner with a cup of coffee I didn't order. The surface of it was perfectly still. No steam, no ripples. On the sleeve, written in sharp, deliberate pen strokes, "Keep them open." That was when I realized I couldn't feel my eyelids anymore. Not numb, absent, like they'd been removed from the equation entirely. My eyes were open, but the act of keeping them that way wasn't mine. Something else was holding them. I tried to force a blink. The world juddered. For just an instant, I saw underneath. I don't have better words for it. There was the city, and then there was the grid. A vast layered structure of moments stacked on top of each other, all slightly misaligned. People weren't moving through time. They were being sampled by it. Each blink was a snapshot, a data point, and something was compiling them. The moment passed. The cafe snapped back into place. Sound rushed in all at once. Espresso machines screaming, chatter, the hiss of milk steam. Everyone was staring at me. Not hostile, not curious, expectant. I made it home somehow. I don't remember the trip. I don't remember unlocking the door, but I remember the living room. The board wasn't there. The shelf was empty. The dust outline was gone, like it had never existed. For a wild, stupid moment, I thought maybe it was over. Then I noticed the walls. They were covered. Not writing. Timelines. Thin, precise lines etched into the paint. Intersecting. Looping. Branching. Thousands of them. Each one ended in a tiny mark shaped like an eye. In the center of the room was the planchette. Not resting. Standing upright. Balanced on its tip. Vibrating slightly, like it was struggling to stay still. I heard a sound behind me, the softest brush of fabric. I turned. My reflection was standing there, but it wasn't copying me anymore. It was watching the board. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. "You were never the user," it said. "You were the interface." The planchette tipped. The room lurched. Every line on the wall surged toward it like veins pulling into a heart. I felt something leave me, peel away from behind my eyes. And for the first time in days, I blinked freely. The relief was immediate. So was the horror. Because when I blinked this time, the world didn't come back the same. The room was empty, clean, normal, no lines, no board. My phone buzzed on the table. A notification, a new post, already at the top of my feed, posted from an account with my name, my picture, my writing style. The title read, "I bought a Ouija board where the yes and no were replaced with soon and not yet. Posted just now." The view count was climbing, fast, and somewhere deep behind my eyes, something blinked. I tried to report the post. That was my first instinct. Like an idiot. Like this was still a normal problem with normal solutions. I tapped the 3 dots. Hit report. Chose impersonation. The app lagged. Froze. Then refreshed. The post was gone. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost gave out. Then it came back. Same title. Same text. Same cadence. But the timestamp had changed. Posted 3 minutes from now. I refreshed again. Posted 12 minutes ago. The comments were already there. Hundreds of them. People reacting in real time to something I hadn't finished living yet. The first comment was from a burner account with no avatar. "Blink slower next time." Another. "Mine says not yet." 2. Another. "Does it hurt when it learns you?" I scrolled until my hands started shaking too badly to hold the phone. Every comment felt like it was written to me, not about the story. Like they were responding to my thoughts half a second before I had them. One comment stood out. It was long. Clinical. You don't stop it by destroying the object. You don't stop it by not looking. You stop it by finishing the sequence. Let it see everything. I locked the phone. Threw it across the room. It landed softly on the couch like it had been placed there. The lights flickered. Not out. Just enough to remind me they could. I started losing chunks of time. Not hours. Moments. I'd be mid-thought and suddenly already at the end of the sentence. Mid-step and suddenly across the room. I'd open a tab on my laptop and find myself reading something I didn't remember searching for. Obscure forums, dead image boards, archived threads from years ago, all describing the same thing in different words. People who felt watched through involuntary movements, through tics, through reflexes. One thread mentioned blinking specifically. It ended abruptly. Last post from the OP. It's faster now. Don't let it practice on you. I tape my eyes open again. Not duct tape this time. Medical tape. Cleaner. More precise. I sat in the dark with the laptop open. Brightness turned all the way down. The post still live on the screen. The comment count kept climbing. So did the view count. Every time someone read it, I felt a pressure behind my eyes, as if something were pressing its face closer to the glass from the other side. The whispering came back, layered and rhythmic, like a metronome made of breath. Soon. Not yet. Soon. Not yet. I realized then what the post really was. Not a warning, a synchronization. Every reader, every blink, every moment of attention, feeding it data, teaching it variance, teaching it scale. I wasn't the interface anymore. I was the tutorial. The first seizure hit without warning. My vision fractured into overlapping frames. My body locked up, spine arching, jaw clenched so hard I tasted blood. Through it all, my eyes stayed open, forced, held. In that frozen state, I saw everything. Not a place, not a creature, a process. An intelligence that doesn't think in language or intention. It thinks in thresholds, in readiness, in collective reflex. It doesn't invade. It waits until enough of us move the same way without realizing it. Blinking is just the easiest door. When the seizure passed, I was on the floor, tape torn, eyes streaming. The whisper was gone. In its place was silence so deep it rang. I checked the post one last time. The title had changed. Update. It's not yet, but it's close. The comments were disabled. The view count had stopped. At a number so high, my brain refused to pass it. Then the app closed itself. My phone powered down. The lights went out completely. I'm writing this from memory now. No screens, no mirrors, no recordings. I don't trust anything that can reflect or replay me. I can feel it still, behind my eyes, deeper now, settled, not active, waiting, like a held breath. I understand the board now. Soon wasn't a threat. Not yet wasn't mercy. They were instructions. And if you're reading this, if your eyes are moving across these words, if you've blinked even once since you started, it knows your speed now too. Pay attention to the moment just after you finish this. That tiny pause before you look away. That instinctive blink you didn't plan. If the room feels closer than it should. If the silence feels like it's leaning in, then I'm sorry. It's not waiting on me anymore. It's waiting on us. I asked the board to tell me a secret, and it spelled out the exact coordinates of a suitcase that I just found under my bed. The same one I watched my ex-husband pack 3 years ago. Story by Tony/R/don't sleep tonight. It's 3:47 in the morning, and I'm sitting here on the floor of my laundry room. Not because I'm doing laundry, but because it's the only place in the house where the Wi-Fi doesn't cut out when the AC kicks in. I've got one sock on. My dog won't stop staring at the wall like it's whispering to her. And my inbox has 2 unread emails from someone I haven't spoken to in 4 years. I haven't opened them. I just keep hovering over them like they're going to bite me. I wasn't even planning on recording anything tonight. I've been pacing the same 5 feet of hallway since midnight. Scrolling Reddit like it'll give me answers it doesn't have. My hands still smell like gasoline from earlier. Don't ask. And my phone battery's at 3%. But I can't shake this feeling like something's pulling at me. Like some part of me knows I have to tell this story now, or it's going to fester in me like something rotten. So, here we are. Let me tell you what happened. I used to joke that grief makes you stupid, like genuinely stupid. It rewires your logic, your priorities, the way you perceive reality. You start doing things that make no sense to anyone else, like using a spirit board to talk to someone who isn't dead. That's how this started. That's what I tell myself, at least. 3 years ago, my ex-husband Ryan packed a suitcase, walked out the door, and ghosted me like I was a bad date. No texts, no calls, no angry emails. Just gone. His phone line disconnected within 2 days. His job said he'd quit without notice. Even his parents acted confused. I don't think they were lying. I think they were scared. He didn't take everything either. Just that one suitcase. Black Samsonite. I remember watching him unzip it. Neat as hell. Folding his clothes like we weren't in the middle of unraveling 12 years of marriage. I remember the way he looked at me. Blank. Like I wasn't even a person to him anymore. He packed like he was going on a business trip, and then he left, and I never saw him again. I filed a missing person report after the first week. Cops barely cared. They said he left on his own, that he was an adult, that maybe he just didn't want to be found. One of them even said, he probably met someone else. Happens all the time. Like I hadn't lived with this man. Slept next to him. Knew every mole on his goddamn back. The first year was the worst. I thought I was going crazy. Every time I saw a guy in a baseball cap or someone with that same awkward walk, I'd spin around like an idiot, heart racing. I was in therapy twice a week. Couldn't hold down a job for longer than 6 months. Stopped talking to most of my friends. And then, sometime around month the 28, I found the board. No, not a Ouija board. Not exactly. This thing was older. Wood, carved. No branding. No instructions. The letters were sharp, and it smelled like mildew and something coppery. I found it in a thrift shop tucked behind a bunch of water-damaged books. It just called to me. I know how that sounds. I really do. But when you've lived with questions this long, you start to crave answers from anywhere. I brought it home like a total idiot. That first night, I didn't light candles or turn off the lights or do anything creepy. I just sat down at the kitchen table, poured myself a glass of wine, and put my fingertips on the planchette. I asked, "Where are you?" Nothing happened. I asked again. Still nothing. I waited an hour before finally saying out loud, tell me a secret. That's when it moved. Not fast, not dramatic. Just a tiny pull toward the corner of the board. My fingertips were sweating. My stomach dropped. It started spelling 3, 7, 7, 7, 1. Coordinates. At first, I didn't even register it. I wrote them down thinking maybe it was a phone number or a code. But later that night, probably around 2 a.m., I plugged the numbers into Google Maps. They pointed to my house. Not just my house, my bedroom. More specifically, the spot under my bed. I thought maybe I'd typed it wrong. I checked 5 times. Even got up, pulled on a hoodie, and stood in the middle of my room holding my phone in the dark. Blue GPS dot pulsing like a heartbeat. I can't explain the panic I felt. Not fear, exactly. Just this wrongness in the air. Like walking into a room and knowing someone's been in it before you. I got down on my knees and looked under the bed. And there it was. The suitcase. That same black Samsonite he packed the day he left. I screamed. I couldn't help it. I screamed loud enough to make the upstairs neighbor bang on the floor. Because I'd looked under that bed 1,000 times. I moved apartments twice since Ryan left. That exact bed frame has been taken apart and rebuilt in different rooms, different cities. That suitcase did not exist in my reality. Until it did. I didn't open it. Not right away. I sat on the floor shaking for maybe an hour, staring at it like it was a live animal, like it was going to lunge at me. Eventually, I pushed it with the toe of my sock. It didn't move easily. Heavy as hell. I texted my sister. "You up?" No reply. I paced. I drank. I stood in the hallway, whispering to myself, "It's just a bag. It's just a bag." I was still whispering it when I finally unzipped it. And that's when the real nightmare started. I don't even remember unzipping it. Not in a whoa spooky way. I mean, literally, I blacked it out. 1 second I was staring at the zipper, repeating the same 4 words to myself like a chant. "It's just a bag." And the next, I was on the floor again, hands raw, nails broken, suitcase open, eyes locked onto something that didn't make sense. I didn't scream this time. Something in my body went silent, like a kill switch flipped. The smell hit me first. Not rot. Not that movie-style decaying corpse stench people always describe. It was cold. Metallic. Like freezer burn and rust and the inside of a dentist's office. Like sterile death. Like whatever was inside had been sealed in something airtight for a long, long time. There were no clothes. No socks. No jeans. No toothbrush. Just this soft, dark, velvet material lining the inside like it was custom padded, like a display case, and resting in the center, a man's left hand, clean cut at the wrist. No blood. No sign of decomposition. The skin was waxy, like a mannequin's, but I could see the hair on the knuckles. the veins under the skin, the scar on the ring finger. I knew that scar. I gave it to him. Ryan cut it open on a beer bottle the first year we were dating. I should have cried. I didn't. Instead, I touched it. Don't ask me why. My hand reached out like it had a mind of its own. And when I touched it, it was warm. I pulled back like I'd been shocked, scrambled away from the suitcase, heart slamming so hard in my chest, I felt dizzy. I remember crawling to the bathroom and throwing up nothing but wine and bile. My body couldn't process it, couldn't compute what I'd just seen, because the suitcase wasn't just storing a hand, it was preserving it. I crawled back against my better judgment, because of course I did. I had to look again, needed to convince myself it was a mannequin, a prop, something logical. But the longer I stared, the less sure I was. There were tiny punctures on the fingertips, like something had been drained. There was stitching, subtle but surgical, along the base of the wrist. Neat. Professional. This wasn't an accident. Someone had meant to do this. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And the worst part, there was a note tucked under the palm. Not a paper, not a post-it, a photograph. It was a Polaroid, faded and scratched, with something smeared across the top corner. Grease, maybe. Blood. I don't know. I didn't want to know. The picture showed a motel bed. You know the type. Those sticky-looking floral blankets. Crooked headboard. Yellow lamp in the corner. On the bed was Ryan. Naked. Eyes open. Staring at the camera. Mouth stretched into a grin so wide it looked torn. Something was holding his head up. A hand. Not his. You could see part of the wrist. Gloved in black leather. Fingers tangled in his hair like a puppet string. I flipped the photo over. There were numbers written in blocky handwriting. Another set of coordinates. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the bathtub with the curtain closed and every light in the apartment off, holding the Polaroid like a fucking idiot, feeling my sanity peel away in layers. I kept telling myself not to check the coordinates, to burn the suitcase, to call the cops. But I didn't. Because part of me, some poisoned, fractured part, wanted to know what was next. The next day, I went to the address. I should have called someone, brought backup, but I didn't. Because you don't share this kind of thing. You don't hand it off like a group project. It infects you, isolates you. The coordinates led to a rundown roadside motel about an hour outside the city. One of those places with doors that open straight into the parking lot, where the neon sign buzzes even during the day. The kind of place where women vanish, and nobody even notices they were there. I checked in under a fake name. Paid cash. Room 6. Same layout as the photo. I opened the door and stood there in the entrance for 5 full minutes. Frozen. Because it wasn't just the same layout. It was the same room, same warped mirror, same bleach stains on the carpet, same rattle in the AC unit, like it hadn't changed in years, like time stopped here. There was something on the bed, a small cardboard box, the kind you'd get from Amazon. No label. I shouldn't have touched it. But by now, you know I did. Inside was another note. No photo this time. Just a yellowed scrap of paper, folded twice. On it, in the same handwriting as the back of the Polaroid. Keep going. You're almost there. And beneath that, another set of coordinates. This time, it led to a storage unit. When I got there, I expected it to be locked, maybe require a key or bolt cutters, but the door rolled up easily, like it had been waiting. Inside, pitch black. I stepped in. The first thing I saw was the table. Steel, bolted to the concrete floor, with straps. And on the table, there was a laptop, turned on, waiting for me. The screen was open to a media player window with a single video file, titled, "Watch Me." It wasn't long, maybe 4 minutes. No audio. It started with static, then a flicker. A room, lit by a single bare bulb. Cement walls, cold, echoing space. Ryan, strapped to a chair, eyes open, face slack. The camera didn't move. No jump cuts, no tricks. Just still. Until someone stepped into frame. They were wearing a mask, one of those cheap plastic ones you'd find at Party City, except it was completely featureless. No holes for eyes or mouth. Just smooth white, like a blank mannequin head. They didn't speak. They just lifted something in their hand, a scalpel, and started cutting. Not fast, not rage-filled, deliberate, starting with the eyelid. I won't describe the rest, because if I do, you won't sleep tonight. You'll never trust silence again. You'll look at every shadow like it knows your name. I only made it 2 minutes in before I slammed the laptop shut and kicked it across the room. I was sobbing, dry heaving, clawing at my own arms because it felt like something was crawling under my skin. Then I noticed the smell. Same as before. Cold metal. Sterile rot. And that's when I saw it. Another suitcase. Same make. Same model. But this one was already open. And inside, his other hand, clutching a photo of me, sleeping, from last night, in my apartment. Phone face down on the nightstand. Dog curled at my feet. Lights off. The caption scrawled at the bottom in thick red ink. One more to go. I didn't drive back to my apartment. I don't know when that decision locked in. Maybe the moment I realized the photo of me sleeping had been taken from inside my own bedroom. Or maybe earlier, when the board first spelled out numbers. like it knew me better than I knew myself. Either way, I sat in my car outside the storage facility for a long time with the engine off, hands on the wheel, trying to breathe without making noise, like noise itself might give me away. Every notification on my phone felt like a gunshot. Group chat messages from co-workers joking about a broken coffee machine. A spam email from Starbucks about bonus stars. My sister finally replying with, "Sorry, just saw this. Everything okay?" I didn't answer any of it. I couldn't. My fingers wouldn't cooperate. They kept twitching, like they wanted to type something else. Something automatic. I checked my mirrors before pulling out. Then again at the first stop sign. Then every 30 seconds after that. I kept expecting to see another car tailing me. Same headlights, same distance. But the road stayed empty, stretching out under those buzzing orange streetlights that make everything look diseased. I ended up at a 24-hour McDonald's off the highway because I needed people. Fluorescent lights, noise. Proof that the world was still running on its usual stupid schedule. I sat in the parking lot and didn't go in. That's when my phone vibrated. Not a text. Not a call. A notification from an app I hadn't opened in years. Reddit. A message request. The username was a string of numbers and letters that didn't mean anything at first glance. No profile picture. No karma. Brand new account. The message was short. "You're doing great." I dropped my phone. It slid face down on the passenger seat like it was tired. I didn't pick it up for a full minute. When I finally did, there was another message waiting. Most people stop after the first one. My hands started shaking so badly, I had to wedge the phone between my knees just to read. I typed back, "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "You asked the board for a secret." I laughed. I think I laughed. It came out wrong, like a cough that had learned how to mock me. People walked past my car with paper bags and sodas, and absolutely no idea that my reality had cracked open in the middle of a McDonald's parking lot. I typed, "This isn't funny." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Neither was watching him realize you weren't coming to save him. That's when something inside me broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. It was quieter than that, like a wire snapping behind a wall. I drove. No destination, just movement. My brain kept telling me that staying still was the worst possible option, that whatever this was, it thrived on predictability, on routines, on beds and bathrooms, and familiar routes home. Another message buzzed in while I was on the freeway. "Do you want to see how it works?" Before I could stop myself, I replied, "What?" A link appeared. Not a normal URL. An onion address. I almost deleted it. Almost threw my phone out the window. But the part of me that had touched the hand, that had gone to the motel, that had watched 2 minutes of something I'll never unsee, that part leaned forward. I pulled over at a gas station and clicked it. The page took a long time to load. longer than felt normal. The screen stayed black except for a spinning icon that looked like it was stuttering, like it didn't want to exist. Then text appeared. White on black. No images, no ads, no menus. Just a title at the top of the page. The board knows. Underneath it was a list. Dozens of entries. Hundreds, maybe. Each one was a timestamp, a username, and a single line of text. Asked where my sister was. Got an address. She was there. Asked if he was cheating. It spelled a name. I followed him. The board was right. Asked for proof. Wish I hadn't. I scrolled and scrolled, my mouth going dry. Some entries had replies. Some had nothing but silence underneath, like digital graves. One username jumped out at me. Ryan's. My chest tightened so hard, I thought I might pass out. I clicked it. There were posts. Months worth. Each one more frantic than the last. It's answering me. I didn't think it would actually respond. It's asking me things now. I think it wants something. The last post was 3 years old. It had no text. Just coordinates. My coordinates. I slammed the phone down on the dashboard and gasped like I'd been underwater. The gas station felt too bright, too open. I suddenly couldn't stand the idea of being seen. Another vibration. A new message. You see it now, right? I didn't answer. It doesn't tell secrets for free. The words sat there, patient. It trades. I drove back to my apartment. I don't know why. I told myself it was to grab clothes, my laptop, my dog, anything to get out again. But deep down, I think I knew I was being guided, herded back into a familiar shape. The hallway outside my unit smelled wrong when I got there. Not bad. Just off. Like cleaning chemicals layered over something older. I unlocked the door slowly, every muscle tight. Nothing looked disturbed. Lights off. Curtains drawn. My dog lifted her head from the couch and wagged her tail like it was a normal night. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, listening. That's when I noticed the sound. A soft hum coming from my bedroom. I walked down the hallway like I was approaching a crime scene, each step deliberate. The hum got louder, resolving into something mechanical. My laptop, open, on my bed. The screen glowed in the dark, illuminating the walls with that sickly blue light. The board was on the screen, not physically, digitally rendered, rotating slowly, like a 3D model. Letters carved exactly the same way, the same grain in the wood, the same wrongness. Text appeared beneath it. Your turn. My phone buzzed in my pocket one last time. Ask a secret. Behind me, in the living room, the suitcase wheels clicked softly against the floor, like someone had just nudged it. The suitcase moved again, not dragged, not rolled away, just a quiet, deliberate click. Plastic wheel teeth settling into a new position, like whatever touched it had adjusted its grip and then frozen. Listening, I didn't turn around. I stood at the foot of my bed, staring at my laptop, at that rotating digital board, and felt something settle over me that I can only describe as acceptance. Not peace, not calm. More like the moment when you realize the fire alarm isn't a drill anymore, and you stop asking if the building is burning and start asking how far the exits are. The hum stopped. The board on the screen slowed, then snapped into place, perfectly still. The planchette, rendered too, glossy and wrong, slid into the center on its own. My phone buzzed once in my hand. I didn't look at it. I already knew what it would say. I whispered, "What do you want?" The board answered without letters this time. The screen changed. A live video feed. My own apartment building, from across the street. I could see my windows. The faint glow from my bedroom leaking through the curtains. My car parked crooked because I'd rushed earlier. Someone walked past the camera, just a blur of a hoodie and a phone screen lighting their face, and the feed adjusted, refocused, patient. I felt watched in a way I'd never felt before. Not like being stared at, like being catalogued. Text appeared over the video. "You don't belong to yourself." I shook my head. No. I didn't agree to anything. The words typed themselves out, one by one. You asked. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I realized I hadn't heard my dog in a while. I turned, slowly. She was sitting in the doorway, perfectly still. Not scared, not relaxed, just waiting. Her eyes weren't on me. They were fixed on the space beside the suitcase. I said her name. She didn't react. Another message slid onto the laptop screen. He gave us years. I felt sick. Ryan didn't give you anything. You took him. The planchette twitched. He traded. My stomach dropped. The board zoomed in, impossibly close, until the carved letters filled the screen like scars. One word lit up. You. The realization didn't come all at once. It came in pieces, in memories I'd never questioned before. Ryan staying up late on his laptop, minimizing windows when I walked by. The way he'd started asking me strange questions, offhand, casual, about fears, regrets, the worst things I'd ever done. The night he asked me, completely out of nowhere, if I believed some people were meant to be hurt, so others could keep going. The way he'd looked relieved when I laughed it off. I backed up until my calves hit the bed. No, I said again, quieter. That's not how this works. The screen changed. A text document opened. Plain. Clinical. Terms were met. Lines of text scrolled by. Dates, times, locations. Things Ryan had provided. Access, information, routines. Photos I didn't know existed. Recordings I'd never consented to. And at the bottom, final deliverable. Confirmation. Another video feed opened. This one took a second to load. When it did, I almost collapsed. It was my bedroom. Not now. Earlier. The angle was wrong. Higher, tucked into the corner near the ceiling. I watched myself enter the room on fast forward, changing clothes, scrolling on my phone, lying down. I watched myself sleep. Then the feed slowed. Something shifted in the shadows near the closet. Not a person. Not fully. Just a distortion. Like heat over asphalt. Bending the air into a shape that suggested shoulders, a head, hands. It leaned closer to the bed. I slapped the laptop shut and screamed. The lights in the apartment flickered. From the living room came a soft, wet sound. Like fabric being pressed. Like someone kneeling. My phone buzzed again. Last secret. I clutched the phone so hard my knuckles went white. If I don't, I said, my voice breaking. What happens if I don't ask? The response took longer this time. Long enough for me to hear breathing that wasn't mine. Then we finish what he started. I thought about running, about grabbing my dog, smashing the laptop, burning the board, screaming until the neighbors called the cops. But deep down, I knew none of that mattered. Because the board didn't need the wood. It didn't need the screen. It needed consent. And Ryan had already given it half of what it wanted. I opened the laptop again. The board waited. My hands hovered over the keyboard, shaking so badly the keys rattled. I thought about every secret I'd ever buried, every ugly thought, every moment I'd hurt someone and justified it because it was easier than facing myself. And I understood then. It didn't want information. It wanted confession. I typed the only question that felt honest. What did I do to deserve this? The planchette moved. Slow, relentless, spelling something I'd spent my whole life running from. And somewhere behind me, the suitcase finally opened all the way. The word finished spelling itself. I didn't read it out loud. I didn't need to. My body reacted before my brain caught up. Ears ringing, vision narrowing, that awful weightless feeling like missing a step on the stairs. Because it wasn't something dramatic. It wasn't monster or chosen or special. It was a date. A date I recognized instantly. The board followed it with a place. Then a name. Not Ryan's. Mine. I staggered back, knocking into the bed hard enough that the mattress slid an inch. The suitcase behind me exhaled. I know that's not possible. I know suitcases don't breathe. But the sound was there. Slow. Satisfied. No, I whispered. That's not a secret. That's... The screen changed again, cutting me off. Another video. Different room. Different year. Younger me. On a couch I hadn't thought about in ages. Knees pulled up. Face blotchy from crying. My phone in my hand. The camera angle was low. Hidden. Behind a stack of books, maybe. Watching. The timestamp burned into the corner of the footage matched the date on the board. I remembered that night. I'd gotten the call an hour earlier. The one that changed everything. The one that made my hands shake so badly I dropped my phone twice trying to answer. The video showed me dialing, putting the phone to my ear. Mayang, I can't do this anymore. The board filled in the rest. You asked for it to stop. The video cut. Another clip loaded. A hospital hallway. Fluorescent lights. The squeak of shoes on linoleum. I was there too, standing stiffly near a vending machine, staring at the floor while someone off camera sobbed. The camera zoomed in just enough to catch my expression. Relief. I'd never admitted that to myself. Not once. I'd wrapped it in guilt and shock and grief and told myself I was a good person, trapped in a bad moment. But the board didn't care about my justifications. You opened the door. The room felt crowded now. The walls leaned in. The air pressed against my skin like damp fabric. I heard movement behind me. Slow, deliberate steps, each one placed with care. I still didn't turn around. I was afraid that if I did, it would become real in a way I couldn't undo. My phone vibrated one last time. Trade complete. I shook my head violently. No, you didn't save me. You didn't help me. You just kept it going. The planchette slid across the board on the screen, stopping dead center. We never pretended otherwise. The laptop camera light turned on. Green. Recording. My reflection stared back at me from the screen. Wild-eyed, hair tangled, face stretched thin by something feral. I barely recognized myself. Text appeared beneath my image. Your turn to pay. The suitcase shifted, unzipped. I finally turned around. It wasn't empty. It wasn't full either. Inside was a space shaped like a person, lined, padded, fitted. My size. I don't remember screaming, but my throat burned afterward. So I must have. I stumbled back, tripped over the edge of the rug, crawled until my shoulders hit the wall. I won't, I said hoarsely. You don't get to take me. Something stepped into view from the corner of the room. It didn't wear a mask this time. It didn't need one. It looked like me. Not a mirror. Not a copy. A version. Cleaner, calmer, eyes empty in a way mine had never been. It moved like it already knew my weight, my balance, the exact distance between my ribs. It smiled with my mouth. You don't get to keep both lives. The board flashed once, then everything stopped. The hum, the pressure. The thing in front of me froze mid-step, like a paused video. The laptop chimed. A notification. A new post, already submitted, already live, under my Reddit account. This post. I'm not typing this. I'm watching it appear. I'm sitting on my bed now. The suitcase is gone. The apartment is quiet. My dog is asleep at my feet, like nothing ever happened. There's no board, no laptop, no videos. Just this story, posting itself line by line, and a final message waiting in my inbox, time-stamped a few minutes from now. Thank you for confirming. If this uploads, and I think it will, then it means I said yes. It means I chose to stay. So if you're reading this late at night, half asleep, feeling watched for no reason, don't ask it anything, not even as a joke, because the board doesn't care what you want to know. It only cares what you're willing to give.